VIP System. Chapter 7. Share the Pain. As soon as Leo tapped the proceed button, a timer appeared in front of him. His heart pounded as the seconds began to tick away. Suddenly, he felt an overwhelming sensation of paralysis. He couldn't move, his muscles locked in place. His vision blurred, and countless screens like video feeds began to play all around him. Each screen showed different moments of Amanda's past, each with its own sounds and scenarios, all playing simultaneously. The cacophony of images and sounds was overwhelming. He saw Amanda battling monsters, her face contorted with determination and pain. He heard her laughter, her cries, her shouts of defiance. The screens flickered with scenes of her life, both mundane and extraordinary. For the first 5 seconds, Leo felt a wave of nausea. His head spun, and his stomach churned. Every part of Amanda's experiences flooded his mind at once. He felt every blow she had endured, every cut and slash, the searing pain of a monster's strike to the gut. His body, though unscarred, felt every sensation as if it were happening in real time. His consciousness began to drift as he experienced years of Amanda's life compressed into mere seconds. He felt her joys and sorrows, her triumphs and defeats. He laughed with her in moments of happiness, cried with her in times of loss, and screamed in agony with each injury she had sustained. His body convulsed as the intensity of her experiences overwhelmed him. He coughed violently, tasting blood in his mouth, his vision swimming with the rapid succession of memories. The world around him became a blur of motion and emotion. He felt the weight of Amanda's psychological and physical burdens, the love she had for her friends, the grief of losing them, all of it washed over him in a relentless tide. After 40 seconds, his body could no longer hold itself up. He slid from his chair, dropping to the floor. His body twitched uncontrollably, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. As the sinking process continued, the flood of experiences showed no sign of slowing. Finally, the timer reached 0, and the overwhelming barrage of sensations ceased. The screens vanished, leaving Leo lying on the floor, his body still twitching and convulsing. His breath came in ragged gasps, and blood continued to seep from his lips. Sync with Amanda completed. Calculating synced years. Successfully synced 100 years. Congratulations, receiving successful sync reward, increasing all stats by 1,000. Leo lay there, his body gradually stilling as the system completed the process. The room was silent except for the faint sounds of his labored breathing. In a split second, everyone on the farm, as well as those on neighboring lands, felt an inexplicable shift in the atmosphere. It was as if an invisible force had suddenly pressed down upon them, thickening the air and making each breath a laborious task. The once lively sounds of the farm, clucking chickens, lowing cattle, the rhythmic swish of scythes, were abruptly silenced. Birds took to the sky in panicked flocks, their frantic calls adding to the sense of impending doom. Farm workers paused in their tasks, looking around in confusion and fear. Some caught mid-motion, crumpled to the ground, their bodies unable to withstand the sudden burden. Their tools clattered to the dirt, forgotten. Animals sensitive to the shift in the atmosphere, either bolted in fear or collapsed where they stood, eyes wide with terror. Adventurers in the vicinity, more attuned to the fluctuations of magical energies, felt the shift with even greater intensity. Those practicing their combat skills found their weapons suddenly too heavy to wield, their limbs trembling with effort. Several fell to their knees, gasping for breath, their faces pale with strain. On neighboring lands, villagers and traders halted their daily routines, gripping at their chests or clutching nearby support to stay upright. Children, sensing the fear in the adults around them, began to cry, their wails echoing eerily through the now silent air. Whispers spread quickly among the conscious few, their voices tinged with a mix of fear and reverence. What is happening? Is it a monster? Could it be magic? The oppressive energy hung in the air like a thick fog, invisible but palpable, pressing down on everything in its reach. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the force began to recede, leaving everyone bewildered and shaken. Amanda, working a bit further away on the farm, felt her heart race as she pinpointed the source of the unimaginable aura. "Leo!" she exclaimed, her voice cracking. The oppressive aura dissipated just as quickly as it had come, but the fear remained. "Recall!" The word echoed through the air as she activated the spell, instantly teleporting her inside their home. Amanda scanned the area, her breathing slow and steady despite her panic. The room was a chaotic mess. Blood spattered the floor, mingling with vomit and the signs of Leo's convulsions. A sharp, cold sensation spiked through her body and a cold sweat broke out across her skin. "Leo!" she cried, rushing towards him. Her legs felt weak, almost giving way beneath her as she reached his side. She knelt down, her hands trembling as she checked his body for injuries. Her whole body shook with fear. "No injuries," she whispered to herself, her voice quivering. She pressed her head to his chest and felt his heart beating rapidly. Relief washed over her, knowing he was alive. She inhaled deeply, closing her eyes to steady herself. When she opened them again, they were filled with determination. Amanda pulled her hair back, tying it in place. She picked up Leo, her muscles straining with the effort, and laid him gently on his bed. She began chanting spells, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Her hands glowed in soft light as she moved them over Leo's body, casting healing and protective spells. The room filled with the soft hum of magic, the air tingling with energy as she worked. "Sanctuary," she intoned, a dome of shimmering light enveloping Leo and casting a gentle glow around the room. The light reflected off the walls, creating dancing patterns that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the spell. "Divine restoration," she continued, her hands hovering above his chest. The light intensified, casting a warm, golden hue that bathed Leo in its glow. His body responded, the tension easing as the restorative magic took effect. "Greater heal," she whispered, her voice filled with resolve. A final wave of light washed over Leo, mending any internal injuries and stabilizing his condition. The room seemed to pulse with the energy of the spell, the air humming with the power of her magic. Amanda's focus never wavered, her spells weaving a cocoon of healing and protection around Leo. Minutes felt like hours as she continued to chant, her magic flowing steadily. Finally, Leo's breathing began to even out, and the tension in his body eased. Amanda let out a shaky breath, feeling a small measure of relief. She knew the worst was over, but there was still so much she didn't understand about what had just happened. Amanda stood over Leo, exhaustion tugging at her, but her eyes never left his face. "What happened here, Leo?" she whispered, her voice filled with a mix of worry and admiration. She brushed a damp strand of hair from his forehead, her fingers gentle and trembling. "I'll keep you safe," she promised softly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "No matter what." As the magic continued to work through Leo's body, Amanda remained vigilant, ready to protect and care for him no matter what came next. The light from her spells cast a serene glow over the room, a beacon of hope and resilience in the face of the unknown.